Would you risk everything to save his starving mother bear and her freezing cubs? Logan did, and what followed was nothing short of incredible. Was it bravery instinct, or a deeper connection between human and wildlife? Watch this powerful rescue and share your thoughts. In the comments in the heart of the unforgiving Yukon wilderness, Logan Cole, a retired wildlife photographer, sought refuge in a remote cabin after the devastating loss of his wife. Once he roamed the world, capturing the untamed beauty of nature through his lands, but now he only wanted silence. That silence, however, was shattered when a relentless winter storm descended. The blizzard struck with a fury beyond anything he'd experienced, burying the land beneath an ocean of snow and plunging temperatures to a bone-cracking -50 Fa. Logan reinforced his cabin, bracing for the long siege ahead. Outside, the wind screamed like a wounded beast battering the walls and clawing at every crack and crevice. Even inside, wrapped in layers by the fire, the cold gnawed at his bones. He thought he was prepared for the winter's cruelty, but nothing could prepare him for what was coming next. Late one night, while adding wood to the fire, Logan heard an unnatural sound, a low labor grunt, almost like a wounded moan. He froze, listening. It wasn't the wind. His heart quickened as he grabbed his flashlight and moved to the frostbitten window. The world outside was a blur of swirling snow and ice, but through the chaos, he saw something that made his stomach twist. A massive ice-encrusted bear staggered through the storm, her powerful frame weighed down by frost and exhaustion. Two small cubs stumbled behind her, their tiny bodies barely pushing through the snowdrifts. The mother's head hung low, her body swaying with each labored step. She wasn't hunting, she was barely holding on. She was dying. Logan's instincts screamed at him to stay inside. A starving bear, even on the brink of collapse, could be deadly. He knew the risks. Wild animals were unpredictable, driven by primal fear and hunger. But as he watched the mother bear stagger forward, her cubs letting out pitiful, weak cry, something stirred deep inside him. His mind flashed to his wife's voice, soft and full of warmth, echoing from a memory that felt like a lifetime ago. The strongest survive, but the bravest save others. The weight of those words anchored him. He couldn't just stand there. His hands moved on their own, pulling on his heaviest coat wrapping. His face in a thick scarf, he grabbed a blanket and headed for the door. The cold hit him like a sledgehammer, stealing his breath. The moment he stepped outside, his lungs burned with each gasp of frozen air, but he pushed forward. He moved carefully, slowly, his boots crunching through the snow. His voice came out low, calm, though his heart hammered against his ribs. Easy now. I'm not here to hurt you. The mother bear lifted her head. Her eyes met his. There was no rage, no threat, only a raw, aching desperation. Logan had spent his life capturing wildlife through a lens, witnessing nature's fiercest predators up close. But this wasn't an animal's gaze. It wasn't primal. It was a silent, pleading cry for help, and he couldn't walk away. The cubs huddled against her legs, shivering violently. One collapsed in the snow, barely moving, its tiny body limp against the frozen ground. Logan's heart pounded in his chest, his throat tight. He couldn't let them die. Not like this. He tossed the blanket closer, his movements slow and deliberate. The mother bear flinched, her massive frame trembling, but she didn't retreat. Logan's mind raced. He needed to get them to safety fast. Taking a desperate chance, he laid a trail of blankets through the snow, each one a stepping stone to warmth and survival. Then he backed away, leaving the cabin door ajar, and praying they'd follow. The wind held around him, biting into his skin like shards of glass, but he stood his ground, waiting. Seconds felt like hours. Just when he thought they might give up, the mother bear stirred. She nudged her cubs, her head low and heavy, guiding them forward. They stumbled, barely able to walk, but they followed the promise of warmth. Each step looked like agony for the mother. Her legs buckled, her body sagged, but she pressed on, driven by a force beyond exhaustion. Logan rushed inside, leading them to his storage room, the warmest place he could offer without risking his own safety. He worked quickly, piling blankets and straw into a makeshift den. The mother collapsed with a low, exhausted thud, her breath ragged and shallow. The cubs curled into her, their tiny bodies barely stirring. They were safe for now. Logan worked tirelessly, his body aching and cold, but his determination unwavering. He melted snow, careful not to let the water get too cold or too hot, and mashed protein bars into a paste, hoping it was enough to give the bear strength. Each time he left the food near the mother, he retreated, giving her space. She barely moved at first, only sniffing the food before nudging it toward her cubs. Logan's heart clenched when the smallest cub, the one he feared, wouldn't make it. Weakly lifted its head and licked at the mush. It wasn't much, but it was a spark of life, and that was enough to keep him. The days dragged on. The wind screamed outside, battering the cabin, but inside warmth fought back the cold. Slowly the cubs grew stronger. They began to move more even play, pawing at each other between naps. The mother watched it. All in silence, her breathing still heavy, but her eyes clearer. Logan could feel. The tension eased, though it never truly left him. He stayed vigilant. Then late one night the wind softened. The blizzard began to die down. Logan woke with a start to a sound that froze him in place, a deep rumbling growl. His heart hammered. He grabbed his rifle, rushing to the storage room, prepared for the worst. The mother bear stood, her massive frame filling the space. Her eyes locked on him for a moment. Neither moved. Logan's hand shook, but instead of lunging, the bear did something that left him speechless. She lowered her head just slightly. It wasn't fear or submission. It was something else entirely, it felt like. Gratitude, like a silent understanding. The next morning's sunlight pierced through the lingering haze of the blizzard, casting a shimmering glow over the snow-covered Yukon. The world felt quiet, not the eerie silence of a storm's grip, but the peaceful stillness that follows survival. Logan stepped outside, his breath visible in the crisp air. The landscape stretched endlessly before him, untouched and raw in the doorway. The day Mother Bear stirred. She pushed herself to her feet, her movements steadier now. The cubs, once too weak to stand, scrambled to follow her. They hesitated at the threshold, looking back at Logan. With wide, curious eyes, his throat tightened. He wanted to say something to make the moment last, but all that came out was our emotional whisper. "Go on now. You made it." The mother bear stepped forward into the snow, her cubs trailing close behind. Logan expected her to leave without a second glance, to vanish into the wild where she belonged. But she stopped slowly. She turned her head back to him. Their eyes met one final time. In that moment, no words were needed. He didn't see a wild animal. He saw a mother, fierce, resilient, and grateful. The moment passed and she moved on, disappearing into the endless white. With her cubs, Logan stood there unmoving, watching. Until they were gone, the wind whipped around him, cold and unforgiving. But he didn't feel it for the first time in so long. The ache in his chest eased. The wilderness was brutal. Relentless, it took without hesitation, but this time it gave something back. It gave him purpose. It gave him hope. And maybe, just maybe, it gave him a reason to believe in life again. Sometimes the most unexpected moments of compassion can heal wounds we didn't even realize we had. Logan thought. He retreated to the Yukon to escape his pain, but in saving the bear and her cubs, he rediscovered his own strength and purpose. The mother bear's final glance wasn't just gratitude. It was a silent acknowledgement of the bond they shared, born from survival and trust. The wilderness may be unforgiving, but it also reminds us that hope can emerge even in the coldest, darkest places. If this story moved, you imagine how many more powerful emotional journeys are waiting to be told. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another incredible story of survival, courage, and the unbreakable connection between humans and animals.